My name is Jaisa Torres. I live in Annandale, Virginia. I am 31-year-old and I've been married for about 7 years. I was born in 1984, best year ever, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an island on the Caribbean and it's part of the United States. So I have an older sister. She is 3 years older than myself.
My parents, I had a very happy childhood. My parents
did everything possible to really give us a good education, the best childhood we could have, with little. Like they necessarily didn't have a lot of money, or we didn't live in the best of places. But we anything we ever wanted, toys, whatever, it was always there. My family was very united. We did a lot of things together. Every Sunday, it's very much in Puerto Rican culture of you work all week, Saturday is your cleaning day, and then on Sunday, it's family time, whether it's to visit other family members or to go around the island and do, whether it's beach or visit another town and do museums, whatever. In that sense, it was great. My parents were both Christian. In Puerto Rico, everybody's Christian, basically, or most people are Christian. The only difference is which church you go to, whether you're Catholic. Like us, we were Lutheran, which is very similar to the Catholic Church. It just has very slight differences. My parents went to different churches, but my mom, for some reason, always understood that it was her responsibility to educate us spiritually. My mom always made sure that we went to her church every Sunday, but at the same time, she was always very open to us going to any of our friends' churches. If my dad had any special activities at his church, we would also go. So in that sense, we were always I feel that my family was always very open-minded to those things. I grew up with this only sister, but now I do have another sister. She's 2 years old. My parents did at some point divorce, and my dad remarried, and recently he had another child.
My sister has always been like an old lady. We're opposites in many ways, but we love each other so much too.
But she's always been a little bit old, this old little soul, this old lady. I always have problems since I was little, to go to sleep or wake up. I always go to sleep very late because it takes me so long, and then to wake up, it's horrible also. I rather just wake up way later. But my sister is the opposite. Then she goes to bed early and she wakes up super extremely early. I always remember for Christmas time, since she wakes up so early, my mom would tell her that she couldn't open any of presents until I woke up, because my mom wanted us to do it together. So my sister would come please, wake up, wake up, wake up, and she would basically drag me all asleep to she would sit me around the Christmas tree, and then she would open the presents while I'm just there, just coming to life. She did what mom said, but still she got away with it, I guess, to some degree. My parents always trying to find a better education each time. So when we were in elementary school, we did study in a bilingual school. The school did feel like a family, you knew everybody. That's where I mostly learned my English, right? So then for middle school, they changed us to this humongous school. By high school, they changed me again. But again, I was in a school that was bilingual and also very, very small. Any Puerto Rican get-together of family, it's a lot of music, a lot of food, and when I say music, a lot of salsa, and the cousins or the aunts and uncles are always dancing around some salsa and stuff like that. My generation, unfortunately, we were too cool to be dancing salsa, but it was always a very happy environment and lively. There's always the music, there's always all this food. My mom would take us camping a lot. I love like nature so much because my mom loves it so much. She always would, like, I don't know, wake us up very early in the early hours of the morning to take us to the east side of the island so we can see the sunrise. My sister didn't love it so much. I do remember like us going camping, and my mom and myself would be all the time that we could in the shore, in the soaking of the sun, the water, and my sister would spend the day just cleaning the tent to make sure that it's not all like sandy and stuff like that. And she would set up a system for us to clean our feet and ourselves outside of the tent so it would be clean. So that's the type of person my sister is. She's like that, like an old little lady. When we were like younger, we would fight a lot, like siblings do. And it's funny because I've always been more violent. I'm more physical, you know, I get frustrated and I just want to hit her. But she was more like mental. She was more psychological, like, oh no, you're adopted or whatever. She would win every fight and would like have a very good relationship, and we're close, and I love her. Yeah. High school for me was great. I went into this school in 10th grade. My whole class was only 25 students. The majority have been together since they were in kindergarten. That year, almost like 5 of us were new students to that class. I was a little bit afraid that maybe they wouldn't accept new people, you know, because sometimes when they're too tight, then they don't want to have new people, but it was not like that. They were just as happy to bring you into the fold. There was a student there called Nava. Her parents had come to the island in the 1980s. Her mom is from Iran and her dad is from the States. Ever since I went to the school, everybody identified Nava as Nava the Baha'i, you know? But I don't know why. I was never curious to know like what it was. She was great. She was really cool. She was nice. I know they would make fun of her a lot and her mom. But again, this is a very united group of people. Like, we're so tight that we make fun of each other and it's okay. So they would make fun of her food because like she would come to school with this Persian food that was green and weird. Or when her mom would pick her up, like her mom would always have a serious face and they were always like, oh my God, we have to be afraid of like the Iranian woman. One day, she was talking to another friend of ours about something about the Baha'i faith. And I turned to her and say, hey, now, you know, actually, like, I've never asked you, like, what is that? What is it? And everybody's saying Nawa Baha'i. What the heck? She thought about it for a second and she said, well, actually, we're having an activity this Friday at my house. Why don't you come? And you can learn more about the faith. And I was like, sure. So when we start, like, the mom is giving this introduction, and I find out that we're going to study a book, the book that we're going to study, which is the Kitab Iqan. So she does explain, you know, as we study this book, you know, Baha'u'llah asks us to have an open heart and an open mind. And we consulted a little bit in the group, like, what does that mean? And I liked that. I thought it was like, yeah, that makes sense too, you know, like if you want to explore something new, you should, yeah, you should be detached from different kinds of love or hatred towards something. So as soon as we started reading the first page of the Kitab Iqan, it suddenly just hit me, you know, like, I don't know who this dude is, but he sounds like God. Like, he sounds like exactly like God. I know he's from God. It wasn't like I was this person that was always studying the Bible or looking for things or trying to investigate anything. No, I knew there was a God and I loved God and I tried to help other people. But as soon as we started reading this book, it was just like God's voice. I left that night thinking about like, wow, okay, so what just happened? But I do remember going back to my church that next Sunday, feeling like a little bit like frustration and anger that like all these other manifestations had come and I wasn't told, you know, like we were doing like all these rituals for like 2,000 years or something, you know. Every Sunday we go there and we sing the same songs and we read the same verses, you know, like nobody told me that Muhammad and the Baba and Baha'u'llah had been here too. So that was the last time I went to church. My senior year of high school, it was 2001, right after September 11. When I started to go a lot to their house, my mom got very scared. She was like, oh my God, what if they're brainwashing my daughter? Maybe she's gonna end up being like I don't know, like a suicide bomber or something. Because that's what was happening in the news.
There's one terrible pilot.
How was the war on terror won?
America was targeted for attack.
My mom was like, no, you're not going anymore. I'm afraid. I'm like, no, Mom, these are not Muslims. And anyway, all Muslims are not the same. Like, come on. So thank God she went to visit Nava's mom. By the way, her name is Farana, my spiritual mom. They talked for a bit and stuff like that. And my mom was totally fine. She saw she was another normal mom, like any other. And through time, as they got to know each other better, like my mom really loved her so much. So in Puerto Rico, when you turn 17, 18, even before, it's especially when you're in your senior year of high school, it's almost like a rite of passage to drink and party. And even parents are for it. My mom wasn't. My parents were not big drinkers. My dad doesn't smoke or drink any alcohol, like ever, because he had a bad experience like with it growing up, or his parents being alcoholics and stuff. But I was like, yes, let's go drink, let's go party. And again, in every single that year, senior year, every single get together, party, hangout that we had as a class with my friends, we go out to drink. And when you don't do that, it's weird. As I'm going to Baha'i class to study the book, at the same time I'm going out, I'm partying, then I go into college, even more partying, right? So my friends have been also doing other drugs, mostly marijuana. I became interested in trying it out. I researched it and it said that it was fine, it was almost as drinking. So I was like, well, if I'm drinking already, then it's the same, so let's do it. All my friends are doing it, they're fine, they're having a good time. So also I started doing that. Anyway, at the same time in all of this, I entered into a relationship, which was great too. At the beginning, it was great and everything. I do also become like sexually active. I felt that for some reason, I guess I put an obstacle like in my head that yes, I loved the Baha'i faith. I thought it was the right thing, but like I couldn't like register officially because I was gonna hurt the faith somehow because I was drinking and smoking weed and like being sexually active with my boyfriend. Like if I became a Baha'i, the people around me would think, this is what Baha'is do or whatever, So I put that pressure on myself. Yeah, I am Baha'i in my heart, but I cannot do it, like I cannot say it officially. After that senior year of high school was over and I got into college, Nava, my friend, had to go to college, right? And one day she came out and introduced me to the Ruhi books. We started doing those books, but it wasn't until she asked me to serve with her that I was like it changed my idea of what we were studying. Like she had started a children's class. She needed help. I'm like, sure, I don't know anything about children, but I'll do it. But as soon as we started doing it, oh my God, I fell in love with those kids. One of the kids couldn't read that well, and he was already like in 3rd grade or 4th grade, but we started working with him for him to read the prayers and read different quotes and giving him the chance and the patience and the time. And in nothing, he suddenly was reading everything. And I saw that transformation and that joy and happiness it brought to his heart.
That he could read.
Once I started doing that, I saw like, oh my God, I really, really have to pay attention to what's in these books. Because these books are gonna show me how to do this. I need to go to do book 3 to be able to be a children's class teacher and see what else is in there so I could actually serve in better capacity. Besides doing that children's class, my spiritual mom also came one day and said, well, we had a meeting and Tommy, her husband, Tommy and I decided to be a team with you so we can actually have devotionals together. And you can bring your friends and I'll make the food and you can bring them. I'm like, great, let's do it. And I brought all of the friends that I could to her devotionals. We taught the faith to a bunch of them, but I'm glad for that because they accompanied me through this process and they helped me see my capacity, because I think in part, like, I always would second guess myself. No, I'm not sure if I can do that, you know. But every step, every single service that they asked me to do, you know, I just trusted them and I did it, and it just confirmed like a little bit more like the path I had to take. My first 2 years in college, my grades are horrible because I just wasn't like there. I wasn't really focusing on, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Also, like, I was partying. The thing that most affected me really, I think, was like the smoking marijuana. Like, it really, I would always be skipping school to go do that. Then I wouldn't go back because I was feeling all like, I was all high and stuff like that. And you didn't want to go back to school like that. Something that started as something for fun and social, like with a group of very close friends, of like smoking weed or going out to drink or whatever. Then more people came into the group that were doing other like things, other types of drugs. And the more and more I felt that I was in the wrong place. At some point, I even saw like a little 12-year-old snorting cocaine, and I was like, where am I? Like, what is this? Like, why? And it was given to him by his 15-year-old sister that was doing the same. And I was, what is this? Who are these people? This is not where I have to be. The more that got darker, the more I was like serving. I wanted to do more things.
You can move the world. You can move the world. Ooh, ooh. You can move the world. You can move the world. Ooh, ooh.
And then suddenly one day, like, I would smoke weed and nothing would happen. Nothing. Like I wouldn't get high or anything. So I said, well, you know, it's not doing anything else for me, so let me just quit. And I just stopped doing it. Just like that. I was like, okay, I'm stopping this. And then like, I had been smoking so much weed that I wasn't even drinking alcohol anymore. So I said, okay, so let's drink again. Let's start drinking again or whatever. As soon as I would take a sip of alcohol, I would feel sick. I would feel like all bad in my stomach and all that stuff. So I said, I'm not drinking. Like, I cannot go out and hang out and be sick. It was like that. Suddenly, those things were cut off. And again, I'm serving a lot. So I thought to myself, you know, what is holding me from like becoming a Baha'i openly? Like, Jaisa, you cut this and you cut that. I was still struggling with like being sexually active, you know, and stopping that too. But I was thinking to myself, reflecting, like, what are you gonna do now? And I realized that really it wasn't even those things that were keeping me. It was actually myself thinking that, like, or being afraid of taking a big step. Like, I felt, I don't know, that it was a really big step. But at the end of the day, I felt it so strongly in my heart that Baha'u'llah was the messenger for this day and that this was the way that humanity had to go, that I was like, don't be stupid. Like, this is what you believe. This is what you have to do. So yeah, so I just like registered, and it was the best day of my life.
You can move the world. You can move the world.
I knew what I wanted to do. I went back to school, and I knew what I wanted to do and and that I wanted to serve other people. I wanted to help others. I studied sociology, and then I started a master's in social work, which I didn't finish because then I went to serve full time. I actually had met my husband like years back as I went to different Baha'i activities. He is originally from Peru, but he grew up in Puerto Rico most of his life. And yeah, through the Baha'i activities, we got to know each other better. We served together, and we decided to get married. And we've been married for basically those 7 years. When I told my parents, I didn't know how they would react, but they were totally fine. My mom, when I told her, she was the one that picked me up that afternoon from like where I was, and I had registered officially. And she really got happy. but I think it was genuinely she got happy because by then she knew it was something good. Like it was a faith that was trying to help other people, and she had gotten to know better my spiritual parents. So she was totally happy and cool with it. And I think that even though they don't understand all the things that I do, especially since I'm serving the faith full time, they don't understand that. But they're very proud of me. There's been times where we've briefly talked about it, and they're very happy because they know I'm helping other people or trying to help like society. My sister never said anything, but one time we were with some of her friends, and the friends were asking me about the faith, and my sister started explaining a lot of things about the faith. She started answering a lot of questions, and I was like, how do you know all this stuff? You know, because I hadn't taught her the faith or anything. And she was like, well, when you became a Baha'i, I needed to know, like, what were you doing? You know, that it wasn't anything crazy or a sect or like they weren't like brainwashing you. So I went and researched, and I knew it was good. I was like, okay, good. Everyone has a way of finding truth and investigating for themselves. This was my story.